What's going on, y'all? This is TMI, Minority Input, where we discuss the unspoken, unveiled, and uncensored. Ultimately, we want to make a clear discrepancy spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically in student liveliness and soulfulness here at Michigan State University. Alrighty, so let's get into it. My name is Aaron Harris. I'm a senior here at Michigan State University studying psychology with a concentration in industrial and organizational psychology and a minor in leadership and organizations.
My name is Jaime and I'm an international student and I come from China. My major is human resource leadership.
My name's Sydney Hartman. I'm a senior here at Michigan State. I'm an advertising major with a concentration in management, and then I have a minor in leadership of organizations.
Hi all, I'm Fardushi Sultana. My major is history with a concentration in politics and a minor in leadership of organizations. I'm a senior.
All right, I'm Aaron Hill. My major is interdisciplinary studies, cognitive and economics, minor in organizational leadership, senior here at MSU.
Hello everybody, my name is Isaac Angano and I'm studying Human Capital and Society with a minor in organizational leadership.
Hey, I'm Jada Dover. I'm a junior at Michigan State University studying Human Capital Society and dual minor in leadership and board and public policy.
Hey everyone, my name is Soretta Sadie. I'm a senior at Michigan State University. I'm a double major in arts and humanities and a major in psychology with a minor in leadership of organizations.
Alrighty, so today we're talking about identity. So I want to pose a question to you guys. How do you feel you are different from how people physically see you? That's regarding gender, social media. How do you feel you're different inside compared to outside and how other people see you?
Well, we have to think about stereotypes. Everybody, when they see somebody, it's automatic judgment, right?
I think every single culture, there's always a stereotype, no matter where it is. But I want to challenge all of us. So, where do those stereotypes come from, and where is it true, and where is it not true? Because I know specifically, like, of course, I'm a black man and everything like that. I usually don't. I mean, it's very rare that I come across as aggressive or anything. Because I'm very smiley, very happy. I'm also a small guy, so it's like people aren't usually scared of me or whatever. But of course, being watched when you're in the grocery store or anything like that, depending on what you wear. But also, like, because I speak stereotypically white, which is not a thing, just really speaking articulately, being proper. But I've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, stop being mad about things, realize where things come from. And I realized, like, when I was young, one thing I'll never forget is I was in a summer camp, and one of my white friends, he told me, "You're the coolest black person I ever saw. Like, I really love you." Like, they love me and everything like that, but, like, I've never met another black guy like you before. And I had to realize, let's not come from an idea of being mad about that. You're a little kid. I mean, that's literally all you've seen, and the experiences you've had with other young black or older black people or men or whoever has been negative, and that's unfortunate. And so I think coming from a situation where we're really not being challenged to ask questions about why
I think
that is.
It's a huge issue is that people are ignorant, and the thing is, like, they don't question their ignorance. Like, I was actually talking about this with one of my professors. Like, we were talking about why bigotry is so prevalent. It's because people, yes, you're surrounded by your parents. They're your first like view into the real world, right? So they teach you all your things, and then you have your little friends group, but they also choose your friend groups at a certain age. Like, you get going on play dates as kindergartners or whatever. So they already circumstance you into a certain group. But as you get older, I feel like it's always a person's responsibility to question their upbringing. I'm a Muslim brown girl, like, so I came from a family, and my parents are so traditional. Like, they're immigrants from Bangladesh, they're Muslim, and they want to stay so hardcore to their traditions. But they also have toxic stuff in their things. So they, like, this is, like, so controversial, but, like, my dad, like, growing up, he would always tell me Jews are terrible. Like, Jews literally ruined, like, Muslims. And I never understood that. I would always question it. And I feel like people don't understand that you need to, even though you love your parents and you think they're amazing, you need to question them, because once you get into the real world, you'll experience so many different people from so many different races, and if you already have your stereotypical notions in your head and you can't even go past that, or you don't even want to challenge that, then why are you even, like, trying to be in the world? Like, I mean, that's radical, but, like, what do you think this is? It's not like a little bubble of your own people.
Yeah, I'm really grateful, to that I came to MSU just because the people here are so diverse.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like most people, wherever you live, everyone looks like you for the most part, or you know, it's predominantly you. And so when you go into like a situation where you meet people from different ethnicities and whatnot, you get like a different understanding because you have like those conversations like we're having right now. It's like, what's your perspective? What's your perspective? You know, and just getting that information, we don't get that. Like we get all of our information from media. That's just the day and age we're at. So like, if you've never seen a black man in your life and all you see is like what's on CNN, that's not going to represent every black man. But you don't know that.
People don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's right. I mean, like, there's a stigmatization of, you know, being black and brown, you know, like what the media portrays, who we are. You know, as I was taking this class in Power Privilege, it really just goes into, you know, race. You know, what is race? Race is a social construct that we created ourselves. And, you know, it's really about heritage and where you come from. So, you know, having to, you know, understand who you are and your identity, I think is really important.
Yeah, I want to touch on kind of like what Far said about like her father and his views on Jews. Like my parents were like from Mississippi. My mom was born in Mississippi, and everybody like first, me, second generation were all born in Mississippi. And like my grandmother has this perception of dark skinned women or dark skinned people just being like evil. And it's like a colorism thing, and I'm just kind of glad that we are like in this day and age where this is such a big problem and people can touch on it and talk about it. But I like feel like that particular situation kind of evolves into like a more racial, not only with black people, but with white people. That lighter is just this better. I don't. It's just this better thing, and yeah, I just kind of feel like
I mean,
we fix that.
Even going off of that, like colorism is so prevalent in almost every culture that I've experienced. Like, of course, there's this thing, like, I mean, like, in American history, white people have deemed it to be, like, disgusting to be dark, like, disgusting to be, like, a person of color, or especially black people. But then we also have this terrible issue, even in my culture. Like, I remember growing up, and my mom especially, because I was the only girl growing up, and my mom used to tell me not to play in the sun because I'll get darker, because I'm already brown. And, like, she's very light-skinned, and, like, light skin is always promoted in every culture, Asian culture, white culture, whatever have you, every culture. And it's, like, really, really sad to see, like, how are you going to put people down and say that they're uglier just because of their skin color? Like, skin color should be beautiful and embraced regardless. And it's so disgusting to see, like, even, like, darker women being, like, literally radicalized by other women, which baffles me.
Especially women within their culture.
Yes, women.
Black, I mean, they still black. You be lighter, still black.
Exactly.
And you got to take this backlash from another black woman just because you darker. It's kind of feel like it's trash. I just want to get to a point where it's, like, not a thing, you know?
And race is a social construct, but race is so prevalent in our society that we identify with it. Like, you know, we literally, people notice me a certain way than they notice a black woman, and they notice me a certain way than they notice a white woman. And race is so integrated into our identity, and it shouldn't be a thing, but it is.
So we've got all of us sitting here. I think it's very interesting. So how would everyone identify themselves? Whether that be, you know, gender, sexual orientation, race, religion, ethnicity, the whole nine. I think that's very interesting. I think we have a very interesting and loving group right here. I think it's important that everyone knows who we are. So personally for me, I identify myself as a black African-American male, heterosexual, Christian. I'll leave it there for now. Yeah.
I really don't go as far as saying I'm an African-American. I just say I'm black. That should just be good enough. Baptist. And yeah, and that identity is kind of like really deep within me, especially with being Baptist. I came from a very religious family, so kind of a lot of things that I do now, I'm thinking back to my religion, and that plays a huge part in a lot of decisions that I'm making or a lot of things that I do. It's just something that I can't get rid of, something that I just kind of like want to not think about as much. I took a religion class, Religion 101. It was a really good class, but Karl Marx had this theory that religion was the opium of the people, and he was basically kind of saying that religion is going to hold you back from doing a lot of things, and having a religious blindfold, you're going to be blinded to a lot of things that's happening. So I just want to touch on religion just because it plays a huge part in whatever we do, especially coming from America, where we fear God and we fear So I mean, it's a big thing within America, especially down south. I just told y'all my family's from down south. I just kind of want to get to a point where like I know that I believe in God, but I don't want it to play as big of a decision in everything I do, because back when like I said, it's the opium of the people, and I just don't want to be held back. You know what I'm saying?
So, hey, I'm Soretta. So I grew up in a Muslim household. My dad is from Senegal, so I kind of like identify as Senegalese American. But then again, I'm like my skin tone. Like when you look at me, you will say like I'm black. But yeah, my family, like my mom's side is Christian and my dad's side is Muslim. So like I grew up between the two of those religions. And now that like I'm like grown, I'm on my own, I don't know which side to go on. So it's like I don't want to pick sides, because they're two different, but then are similar at the same time. So.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Even with like religion, like my biggest thing is I grew up Baptist, but right now I honestly don't claim it. I just think I'm more spiritual than anything, because what I've realized in like a lot of religions is that they pick and choose what they want from the Bible. And for me, I'm actually dating like a man. I've been dating him for like a year now, which is not something someone just walk up and like, oh yeah, you can't always just tell, right? And with my religion, it goes against that. And like so. Growing up, like you're told like, oh yeah, you can't do this, this is a sin, but then you also get told that all sins are equal, but then you get told that but just don't do this one. They're not worrying about fornication and all this other stuff. So it's like, it's like, oh yeah, you should have sex before marriage. Like we're not gonna like throw stones at you. But if you lay with another man, we're gonna throw stones. And so that's
we can
why,
talk about that one.
And that's like my identity. My identity has just been like conflicting, because not only that, I feel like especially in like the black community, like homosexuality is such like a taboo type of thing, especially as like a black man. So it's like one, being like a Christian, like a man, because it's just people accept it a lot more for like females, like if she kisses a girl, it's like, okay,
that's promoted.
It's like, oh, she's having fun, but a guy is like, oh, what's going on. And so with that, like that is my identity, but that's not always something someone can just tell from looking at me. But as soon as I go and take that step of, it's not that I hide it, but sometimes I don't just go around like chanting it. If I let someone know, then they're like, oh, okay. But then the next conversation is like, ooh, girl, you know what I'm saying? It's like don't say
like that I'm a stereotype.
Right.
Stereotype
So
gay,
now I'm your girl, or like you want to talk to me about makeup. People want that gay friend, and so I'm like, I've never been the type to hang with like females or anything like that. But as soon as they find that out, they're like, oh yeah, like it's a group of girls now, and I'm supposed to be like their friend.
Right.
It's like that's not my personality. And that's not who I am. But that's all they have seen,
I feel like.
I was just gonna say I really do feel for you, because it's kind of terrible. I just have a family member that's kind of battling between who he wants to be and the religion and the backlash he'll get from the church and the family. And I just hate that this is like the time that we're living in, because I'm like really emotional when it comes to that. I may even start crying, but seriously. But like he can't be who he wants to be just because he's so scared of what everybody will say, and he's like really in a dark place. And I just hate that for him.
Yeah, like I feel in the black community, we have so many toxic things that we don't address. Like with mental health, depression, and all that stuff, we don't take it as seriously as any other community. And with homosexual, like I don't know why like the black community wants to be like ashamed of
Oh well, I'll just go from like
we'll
we can go back to that, but like I'm just going. I'm Sydney, first of all, and none of you can see.
I'm sorry, I think you were gonna say I'm blonde.
I'm like none of us can like see, none of you can see us, but like I'm the only one at the table that's white, or I guess that identifies as white, I would say. And
appreciate that.
Yeah, I know who you are. Yeah, like whatever. But like I'm from like the other end of the spectrum, so like I like barely like grew up with any religious background. Like my like parents' families were like all Catholic, but like I didn't really grow up religious like whatsoever. Like I've been to church like a couple times, but like for like my grandma's funeral, like stuff like that. So like I'm like the total opposite. So like I didn't ever have like a thing that was saying like you can't do that because of like your religion. It was kind of more like, you can do what you think is right and wrong, but there was never kind of like that overshadowing thing. But then I have like friends who are like their dads are pastors and stuff like that, and it's like then they like feel like they have to hide a lot of their stuff that they do from their parents because of their parents' religious beliefs. So I think it just kind of depends on the person and the family. I think a big part of religion just isn't just yourself, it's your family. You typically are the religion that you grew up in unless you change it over. So it kind of, I think it just depends on the person and the family and what they've gone through in their religion specifically. I can't really talk about mine because I don't really identify as like a religious person. I would say I'm more like spiritual. Like I believe there's something, I just don't really know what it is, and I just kind of like take everything as it comes. I don't really like reach out to other things, I would say. So just a little different perspective.
But like, oh no, I was gonna say, but like, and that's a really good actually addition to show like difference and everything. But like, and if you don't feel comfortable sharing this,
no,
like,
I'm pretty much an open book.
As far as like your just identity in general, like as far as ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender, like what do you consider yourself as? I think that's important as far as also like talking to you. Like I want to make sure I'm respectful.
I'm straight white girl, you know.
Straight.
Yeah, I'm straight, you know. I like the boys, whatever. Like in like my like, I feel like if you go back to like race and stereotypes and like everything, like I grew up in like a pretty diverse area, you know. They're not, I wouldn't say diverse, it's more like pretty three like me. It's like, you know, you're either black, you're white, you're Mexican, and it's like even like in my own community, like people kind of tend to hang out with people that they look like. I don't think that's like a bad thing. I think it's kind of just human nature in general. Like you hang out who you're with. So like, and like like pretty much all of my friends are white. Like I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. Like I feel like a lot of people think that like if you're white you're automatically like racist. Like I feel like I'm in a class right now and it's kind of like if you're white then like you like I feel like people think that like I look at people differently, and obviously there's people at like in every culture that, you know, are at different ends of the spectrum. But like I like, you know, I like hanging out with all of you guys. Like, I don't have a problem, but I do like think that stereotypes are like very, you know, prevalent, and they can be bad. And I mean they're also like, I also like hate that like stereotypes are a stereotype for a reason. A lot of times, like it's not like it's like it's. I just feel like it's kind of like an older thing. But like when like I met you and I like looked at you like you're Indian, and I'm like, oh, she's probably like super smart and like. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's like just I feel like it's just a human nature thing that your head that your head goes to. It's like, oh, you know, she's Indian, like she's really smart and she's probably like pretty quiet and stuff, and you know, it just kind of depends on no, and like obviously you're really smart. I'm not saying you're not smart, like you're very smart, but like you're very like outspoken, like you know, you seem pretty open. I don't really know you that well, but you told a lot of
some stereotypes are not all bad stereotypes, as you can tell. I mean, I did have a stereotype of Asians that they all smart. Right. Like I wouldn't say that's bad at all. I prefer that over some
I see that model minority stereotype.
Yeah, and it's really that's a really toxic stereotype towards Asians.
Which we can talk about later, but we still have Isaac and Jaime, so. And
because it like puts like
a immense amount of pressure they have to succeed in.
And like even like when I grew up, like the stereotype of like black people, and it's like either they're like very like outspoken or stuff like that, but like in my house it's kind of like if that's like you put that as like a strong woman. So like a lot of times I look at black women, I'm like, oh, like they're a strong woman. Like even like if they're outspoken, like to me it's just kind of like wherever your head's at, wherever like I think where you grow up is plays a huge part in like your whole identity and like what cultures you're around.
When I came up here, I told people that when you tell people that they from Detroit, they got all types of like literally at work. I work with all white people, no diversity at where I work in. They just got these perceptions about Detroit. That's just the dirtiest city. Downtown is probably as good as it gets. Again, like, and this is coming from people who only went to Detroit for open a day. Yeah. So you know, if you didn't spend more than 2 hours there, you can't really tell me. Right. You can't really tell me what Detroit is about, and I just hate hearing it. It's a lot of people. A lot of people, especially like a lot of my friends I met from different places in Michigan. So yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jaime, and I'm the only Asian in our group. Actually, I don't have religion, but I respect every religion is good one, and I think everybody have religion by themselves. They of course they want to have one believer. They want to be better, so they have religion. And maybe although I don't have religion, but I still believe the God. Maybe sometimes I don't have chance. I don't have have solution. I want to get help from God. Maybe help me.
race.
So how do you identify yourself? Like, I mean, we talk about this is I don't know, this is like something new too, like in politics, like cisgender and all of that. Like, so how do you identify yourself? Do you identify yourself as male? Like how, do you guys talk about these kind of issues in China as well? Like,
American,
yeah, it's like. How, like, you know how we said I'm a female, I'm Bengali, all of that stuff. Like, how do you guys identify yourself?
I'm the male and Asia in America. All of the world people maybe think the Asia is weak, is not strong, and
Asia, who said Asia is weak?
No, like an Asian stereotype. Is that
Oh,
like
weak?
No, I
Oh,
get it.
strong,
Oh, from yourselves? Like that's how you guys?
It's not strong, but now I think the Asia can be strong too. We like work in the gym too.
Yeah.
And
I know what you mean. Physically. Okay.
And maybe a few years ago, a lot of people said made in China is maybe the one. This thing maybe is cheaper because the Chinese worker is cheaper. But now I think we are good. We are good to made in China. China this is good too.
Literally has the drip. Like, look at you, we watch drip every day.
And I like our group, and I think I'm Asian in the American is happy, and nobody want to help me.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I'll go next. So my name is Isaac Angano. I identify myself as a male, straight. Religiously, I would say that I'm not religious at all, just because I grew up with a family that were kind of both on both sides of the spectrum. Being Catholic and Christian really kind of created a separation amongst the two different sides of the family, and so I just identify myself as a more spiritual person. I mean, of course, I believe in God, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, and everything, but I really just believe in the whole spiritual aspect of it. Like getting in touch with God. From going to different places around the world. I think it's important for us to, have that perspective of, there is something out there. God does exist in many forms. I believe having respect to everybody's different religion point of views. Of course, that's who I identify myself as. I'm Mexican American. I have double nationality. I'm Hispanic, Latino. And so, growing up with my grandfather that came from Mexico to the United States, he came here for a better future to work hard. He started off working in the strawberry fields and eventually built his own company. My uncles built their own company. And so we're successful business owners. My father was actually the first one to go to school, get his education, and get his master's degree out of all of us in the family. So, that's kind of a very big stride that we've taken upon ourselves. And some of my cousins actually have gone to Ivy League schools such as Harvard and Columbia, and so having everything that's going on right now politically wise, it's definitely a challenge for me, facing different adversities. But I mean, just like Cesar Chavez or Dolores Huerta, where they stood up for the rights and said "Si se puede." I think that definitely, just like Martin Luther King did as well. We become united and stand up for our rights. I think that's who I am, who I identify myself as. And that's where I come from in my heritage.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It is.
That's really cool. Like I said, I'm Christian, like I'm non-denomination, everything like that. Which is actually different because I kind of grew up AME Zion, but kind of took it upon myself to be non-denomination for a lot of the reasons we were talking about. Pronouns him, his. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Him, his. He,
Him, he, his.
Yeah. He, him, his. We're going to have to fix that in post.
No, I think it's so interesting that you guys all brought religion up. I think, definitely in my identity, I do identify myself as a Muslim, but I think the most prevalent thing, and this is something we're going to get further into in different podcasts, but I think me as a woman is the biggest thing that I identify as. Because it comes from all my culture and stuff, so my parents are, like I said, Bengali immigrants, and I'm first generation student, and I'm gonna be the first woman in my entire family to graduate, and to graduate, get a degree. I got a full ride to this school, so it's like setting these feet, and being a woman has been monumentally difficult. Even though my dad came here to improve our family life and all of that stuff and give us a chance to succeed, I was a woman and I was the eldest, so my parents really, really fought with the fact that I was doing non-traditional things. They wanted to continue the traditions, but I was this American Bengali girl, and I'm assimilated into the American culture, and they're like, what is happening? So I even got backlash from going to college, and my parents were upset they were upset that I was gonna go away, but like to see myself like this May, I know it's gonna be so monumental for me because I'm gonna be the first woman in my family to graduate, walk across that stage, say I got this money, right? So like mine is embedded. Like me, I identify myself as woman first because in my culture, my religion restrained me, my culture restrained me, like the traditions in my culture restrained me, and it was such a breakthrough for my parents and for me to like set that step for my siblings and be like, you know, we're gonna do this. Like if you guys want the best for us, this is the path we need to take, and you can't stop them either. So yeah,
especially with like everything we're saying now, I feel like when we were describing our identities, we went towards things like our race, sexual orientation, all this type of stuff, but that really doesn't tell you much about a person.
It really does.
So like
identity wise,
like we're talking about identity, but it's so surface, and that's how Americans think.
Mm-hmm.
We always think of like, okay, you gotta categorize all these different people, and so yes, it does make us a part of who we are. Like me being a black man, like the black culture definitely plays a huge part of who I am. But if we're honest, the black culture plays a huge part in America, just because of like fashion, music, like all types of things. So it's not just me who, you know, goes through that. I feel like it's more important to not really like separate each other and think about the categories, but be like, all right, who is Aaron as a person? You know what I'm saying? What are your characteristics that make you who you are? Not that you're a black man, because you're totally different from the next black man or the next heterosexual man, or you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just like I want people. I just want sometimes I want people to notice. I mean, it's clear, black woman. But I'd rather somebody notice my personality traits before they notice all of that. Like taking like a couple of first words I say, or probably how am I presented. But like, forget that I'm a woman, forget that I'm black. Like, what else do you notice about me?
I know.
Like, I feel like that's really important. And like, with me being in HR, I try to like find those qualities in people because I figure I start off as a generalist recruiter, and I want to notice a couple more things about you than your appearance, like what you look like, you a woman, where did you go to school. I want to know more about you, like, but that goes further than just identity. You feel me?
Sure. You feel like that was
No, I definitely feel like we talked about our identity.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk deeper about our identities as women and men separately later.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, that concludes our first episode of The Minority Input. You guys follow us on Instagram at The Minority Input. Same thing on Twitter.
That's right.
Turn on those post notifications because we'll be letting you know when we are posting episodes. So just be on the lookout, and thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.